Overseas, a Japanese syndicate boss named Ayun executes a subordinate for faking his loyalty ritual, while two others willingly slice off fingers to prove theirs. Ayun then dispatches his henchman Joe to Normal, Minnesota. 3 weeks later, temp sheriff Ulysses checks into a local motel to fill a 2-month vacancy left by the late Sheriff Gunderson. Deputy Mike escorts him to the station. This sleepy jurisdiction offers zero action, prompting Ulysses to leave regular voice updates for his estranged wife. En route, a roadside sign boasts an astronomical local fund of over $16 million, baffling the new lawman. At headquarters, Ulysses peacefully defuses an aggressive resident named Tom, who is harassing the receptionist. Deputy Blaine ventures out to handle Tom's neighborhood dispute. Ulysses digs into paperwork and grows suspicious upon reviewing Gunderson's hypothermia death file. He confiscates a single round from the deceased chief's heirloom pistol before locking it up. Investigating the armory, Ulysses discovers a massive stash of military gear, including plastic explosives. The receptionist clarifies that Gunderson aggressively capitalized on post-9/11 security grants. Later on patrol, Ulysses leaves a warning note on a bartender's vehicle, which instantly diffuses her anger. That evening at a diner, the proprietor notes that the antique wall guns are fully loaded. Ulysses overhears Joe cursing the freezing climate just as news broadcasts predict a blizzard. That night, a nightmare of gunfire wakes Ulysses, who ventures outside to investigate a strange noise. He tracks crimson trails through the snow, only to find a wild moose with a leaking paint can caught on its antlers. The next day, Ulysses and Mike intervene in a heated hardware store pricing dispute between the owner Maynard and a patron. Mike escorts the customer away while Ulysses questions Maynard about a heavily fortified locker. Maynard stays tight-lipped about the stump remover stored inside. Suddenly, a local merchant named Mary Beth drags Ulysses to her boutique over a shipping error. Mike dismisses her as a local meddler when Ulysses spots her police radio. Later, during Gunderson's lavish wake, Ulysses questions how a public servant financed such luxury. As the mayor delivers a eulogy, Mike pins the late chief's stolen badge onto Ulysses. Spotting a photo of Gunderson with the medical examiner Walter, Ulysses grills the physician about the night of the incident. Walter claims Gunderson was just a heavy drinker who froze in his underwear while ice fishing, though Ulysses notes nobody fishes naked at midnight. The mayor interrupts to offer Ulysses a permanent contract, citing his relaxed enforcement style. Looking outside, Ulysses spots Blaine turning away Gunderson's estranged child, Alex. At the diner that night, the bartender Moira invites Ulysses to shoot pool, calling him an outsider lawman. Over drinks, Ulysses confesses his past trauma. He once killed an abusive father's daughter in self-defense after she executed her parent, a tragedy that shattered his marriage and triggered his insomnia. The following morning, the mayor leaves a demanding voicemail pressing him to sign. Outside, Ulysses helps a woman named Lori clear a jammed vending machine, unaware she is concealing a firearm. Heading home after hours of desk work, Ulysses spots Alex drinking whiskey inside a parked vehicle and holding a weapon. Slipping inside, Ulysses learns the mayor barred Alex from the wake for being non-binary, exposing the town's hypocrisy. Ulysses disarms Alex and safely books them into a holding cell for a warm night's sleep. The next morning, the bank's panic alarm blares. Inside, Lori and her accomplice Keith hold hostages at gunpoint, furious to find only $2,000 in cash. When Keith demands vault access, a hostage suffers a cardiac arrest. The thieves attempt chest compressions while the undercover guards, who are actually Joe and his syndicate partner, trigger a silent alarm. Across the world, Ayun's syndicate receives the distress signal. Joe instantly stabs Keith, igniting a wild shootout. Lori retaliates, taking down Joe's partner, whose stray round blasts Joe into an adjacent room. The deputies arrive but panic, ignoring Ulysses's orders to hold. As Ulysses approaches the entrance, Blaine and Mike ambush him, blasting him through the storefront glass. Saved by his ballistic vest, Ulysses returns fire, wounding Blaine's ear. Mike blindly sprays the room, endangering civilians and executing the ailing hostage. Ulysses pulls the thieves over the counter for cover as the remaining survivors flee. Outside, Blaine treats his wound with snow. Inside, Ulysses forces the bank manager to unlock the vault, exposing millions in gold, cash, and heavy artillery. The manager tries to retrieve a hidden weapon but trips and accidentally shoots himself fatally. Joe regains consciousness in the next room, protected by his own vest. Mike tries breaching the rear exit, but Ulysses drives him back with gunfire. Spotting Keith's secondary back wound, Ulysses aligns with the thieves to survive. The mayor calls from a massive perimeter of armed locals, explaining that the town enriched itself by warehousing illegal syndicate contraband. He orders Ulysses to eliminate the robbers or face execution. Ulysses hangs up, retrieves an RPG found by the thieves, and targets the coordinates outside. The blizzard knocks out the town's electricity just before Ulysses fires, missing the mayor but obliterating his position. A second rocket destroys the squad cars, scattering the corrupt posse. Out of heavy munitions, the trio advances using standard firearms. During the retreat, Tom complains about the chaos, and Joe executes him. With communications severed by the storm, Ayun boards a flight to Minnesota to investigate the breach. A lone officer corners the trio, but Ulysses kills him while the thieves seek refuge in Mary Beth's boutique. Mary Beth initially offers aid, but opens fire after receiving a radio command to stop the fugitives. Lori returns fire while Ulysses topples a heavy shelf onto their attacker. Lori overpowers Mary Beth, fatally stabbing her neck with a knitting needle after the merchant reaches for a backup piece. Ulysses patches Keith's wounds and suggests escaping via a municipal snowplow. Leaving the boutique, a mailman opens fire, blasting Ulysses through a hardware storefront window. Ulysses urges the thieves to run while the mailman gives chase. Inside, Maynard ambushes Ulysses with a crowbar. A brutal tool fight ensues, rupturing the building's fire sprinklers. Ulysses blinds Maynard with chemical spray and drives a nail into his face. When Maynard stumbles, Ulysses strikes him from behind, driving the nail home. Ulysses salvages dynamite and flares from Maynard's secret locker. On the street, the mailman pins down the thieves. Out of ammunition, the mailman ducks behind a vehicle, where Keith bludgeons him with a stolen gold brick. The mailman recovers, injuring Lori's shoulder and pulling a knife on Keith, but a collapsing overhead sign crushes the mailman instantly. As reinforcing citizens open fire, Ulysses rains dynamite onto the crowd, using a single flare as a deceptive trigger. Mike attempts to defuse a stick to look heroic, but it detonates, killing him. The explosives neutralize the remaining attackers. At the municipal garage, the thieves spark the plow. Sally confronts them with a firearm, but Ulysses intercepts her. Sally trips over a cable during the scuffle and gets crushed by a rolling vehicle. Ulysses gives the thieves the gold and orders them to flee, choosing to stay and face the fallout. The remaining town faction spots the plow and converges on the precinct. As Ulysses heavily arms himself, Moira ambushes and shoots him. His vest absorbs the impact, and Moira offers a flask in exchange for his weapons. Ulysses confesses that his dark backstory was a lie. He actually executed the abusive father out of vigilantism. He then deduces that Moira murdered Gunderson. Moira confesses she drugged the chief and left him to freeze because he wanted out of the syndicate deal. Suddenly, Alex uses a belt through the cell bars to snag Moira's firearm, executing her in revenge. Ulysses deputizes Alex and hands them Gunderson's sidearm. When the town posse surrounds the building, Alex bursts through the garage doors in a truck, running down and killing Walter. Joe tracks the vehicle back to the financial plaza, where Alex prepares to detonate the vault's explosive stash. Ulysses radios Blaine, threatening to blow the town's wealth unless they negotiate. The surviving faction finds Ulysses eating ice cream nearby. He proposes staging the destruction as a freak automobile accident to save the town from syndicate retaliation. Joe begrudgingly accepts. The community spends hours laundering the crime scene and burying casualties. At the county border, Ulysses and Blaine intercept Ayun's arriving convoy. Blaine blames the communication blackout on the blizzard, introducing Ulysses as an ignorant temp. Ayun grows furious at the delays, but Ulysses plays dumb and escorts the syndicate inside. Alex stands guard at the vault with the detonator ready. Ayun inspects the inventory, finds it intact, and accepts the cover story. The corrupt faction hosts a celebratory dinner for the syndicate. During a toast about their corporate alliance, a stray champagne cork activates a loaded wall display, instantly decapitating Ayun. A massive shootout erupts inside the diner. Joe wings Blaine's shoulder, but Ulysses tackles Joe into the kitchen. Following a brutal melee with kitchen utensils, Joe stabs Ulysses's abdomen, but Ulysses breaks Joe's hand and drives a blade into his throat. Alex provides cover from a booth until the crossfire claims every remaining combatant. Only Alex and Blaine survive. Ulysses emerges from the kitchen to offer them dessert, passing the sheriff's star back to Blaine. A month later, normalcy returns under Sheriff Blaine, though a syndicate scout watches from across the street. Down in Texas, Ulysses operates as an interim lawman with Deputy Alex by his side. When he calls his wife to deliver the update, she finally answers the line.